One of our big issues, I think, with medications is the large drug companies have the R&D. They develop the drugs and then they put them on the market and wait for the patent to run out when there are other drugs in the pipeline, which may be better, but they're trying to maximize their gain on that. And we've gone to Canada to buy medication that's available there that's not available here. Do you have any solution for that whole issue with the major drug companies having R&D and then the generics picking up afterwards, so we reduce our costs and we bring more drugs available here?
Well, the first thing I'd say is if you had a modernized Food and Drug Administration that literally had as an assignment to be in the laboratory, that is to know from day one what's happening, to facilitate, not be an adversary, to get to the market as fast as possible, you would drown that high-value drug with new agreements and new licenses very fast. I'll give you one example that happened at Harvard. I've been talking with a very successful research scientist whose specialty was in regenerative medicine. Regenerative medicine is when we take cells out of you, grow something and put it back in you. So you don't have any of the problem of rejection that you get, for example, if you have a transplant. Because we're putting your own cells back in, so your body accepts them. His name is Dr. Itali. In 1999, he grew 7 bladders for children who had a rare disease that was going to kill them. All 7 children are alive today. Those bladders were grown under a Food and Drug Administration protocol for research, which is very simple, common sense, and inexpensive. They cost a total of $50,000 to grow 7 of them. So about $7,000 each. They wanted to commercialize it. This was at Harvard at the time. He's now at Wake Forest. They wanted to commercialize it. But to commercialize it, you go from the practical, common sense research protocol to the commercial protocol, which is hostile, adversarial, and expensive. The first rule that the FDA has in the commercial side is nothing done with children counts. So you have 7 children who are alive. I mean, it's clearly working. I'm trying to get 2 of them to actually do a whole press conference with me, because they're now, of course, not children anymore, since this was 12 years ago. But they don't count. This is typical government bureaucracy. You say to them, they're alive. Would you like to meet them? They go, okay. So the FDA said, in order to take this new idea, you have to come over here and you have to start with dogs. Now that means you've got to create an entire facility for dog bladder growth. You have to spend the time, value, money for years. The first 7 cost $50,000. The next 16 cost $100 million. I've done 2 conference calls, and I spoke at the meeting of the National Regenerative Medicine Research. Every researcher I talked to said, if we don't fix the FDA, all the new breakthroughs will be in China, India, Japan, and Europe, because the U.S. is now, by governmental stupidity, too expensive for us to transit. So my goal would be to say to the FDA, you ought to be in his lab electronically from day one. The minute you know we're getting a proof of concept, you ought to be working collaboratively. You ought to accelerate bringing it to market, both because it's going to improve lives, lower costs, and it's going to create millions of American jobs selling billions of health products around the planet. Now that would be a pro-jobs FDA, which would be a radical change from the current anti-jobs FDA. Does that help? Yes, sir.